Today we are 2 miles east of Lexington Distillery District at Bluegrass Distillers. Located right behind West 6th Brewing and Smithtown Seafood in a building known as the Bread Box, this urban distillery is doing some pretty cool things. Let's go take a look. One thing I love about this place is the atmosphere. You know you're in a place where they pour everything into their work the second you walk in. If you're lucky, you'll be greeted by Tipsy, the head mouser. She's a sweet cat who can't seem to get enough attention and loves to keep the bourbon barrels warm. The tour is a typical tour where they show you things like how they prepare the mash, the distilling process, and barreling, but a few things caught my attention. First off, I want to say that I'm not sure if it was by chance or design or what, but my tour guide for the day was the head distiller here at Bluegrass. This is important to me because I know a little bit about distilling, and I may or may not do a little bit of it myself. But getting a tour from this guy was great because I think you get a little extra when the tour guide is also the one making the product. Now, I'm not saying that tour guides who aren't distillers are bad, but I just happen to like this combo. Another thing that I think is pretty sweet is that because this distillery is so small and in an urban setting, they are getting help storing their barrels from Wilderness Trail. I know this is probably a more common practice in the industry, but I love hearing stories about bourbon distilleries helping other bourbon distilleries. I mean, it is all about the bourbon, right? I mentioned they were getting help storing barrels. Well, at least until they get their farm up and going. They've purchased Elkwood Farm in Midway, Kentucky. The farm location will include expanded distillery, barrel warehouses, tasting room, visitor center, and event space, and will take them from 1 barrel of production a day to about 20 barrels per 8-hour shift. Enough about all that. Let's talk bourbon. This craft distillery is doing some pretty innovative things. Their flagship bourbon is a high rye bourbon containing 21% rye. I love a good rye whiskey or a high rye bourbon, and this one is no different. The high rye bourbon from Bluegrass Distillers has a sweet buttery flavor that causes this whiskey to stand out. They also have a very mellow wheated bourbon and a Kentucky straight Blue Corn Bourbon. If you're a corn whiskey fan, this one has to be on your list. All of these are offered at 90 proof and cask strength as well. A side note, the distillery is also introducing the rye and wheated bourbons as bottled in bond offerings. As if these products weren't enough, they do some pretty amazing things with finishes. As of right now, they have a bourbon finished in maple syrup barrels. Once they dump their barrels, they loan them to Seldom Seen Farms in Montville, Ohio, and after the syrup aged in the barrels, they will return to Bluegrass and used for finishing. If you have a sweet tooth, this is a must try. The product that I am most excited for is not quite out yet, but I believe when it hits the market, it's going to be a game changer. It's a bourbon finished in dill pickle barrels. You've heard of a pickleback shot, right? Well, this bourbon is promised to be better than any pickleback shot. The bourbon pulls out the dill from the barrel, and that dill accents the bourbon perfectly. Keep an eye out for this product. I know I will. Now you know why I'm so stoked about this place. To find out more about this distillery and what they're doing, visit them at bluegrassdistillers.com or visit them in Lexington for your own tour and tasting experience. And tell Tipsy I said hi.